Hey, what's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I have a brand new film to talk to you guys about coming out of 1091 Pictures on November 9th, and this one's called Lair. Lair is ultimately about a man that was put in prison allegedly for murdering his own wife and child, but he claimed the devil made him do it. A close friend of his, Stephen Caramore, who does not believe in the supernatural, decides to take it upon himself to investigate those claims by setting up a number of hidden cameras to catch a creature from beyond our world's grasp. But when a young family move into the flat that he's monitoring, he's forced to watch their daily lives while keeping an eye out for old Casper himself. Lair easily follows a tale as old as time when it comes down to horror by essentially having a haunted house that, depending on how long you stay there, makes you get crazier and crazier. Same idea can be seen in much more recognizable titles such as The Shining or the Amityville Horror. So is there anything particularly great about Lair that can't be seen in the aforementioned films? I'm not sure. It's definitely a more modern take though, as it does have an incredibly slight but noticeable pro-LGBTQ message that doesn't really affect the plot for better or for worse. I, however, was much more engaged in the character of Stephen Caramore, who was trying to prove this ghost does or does not exist, but I'll admit that my fascination with his character was much more about his presentation and performance than it was the way his character was actually written, which in all honesty is kind of a mess, but we'll get to that. He mostly serves as the vantage point of the audience, not fully knowing what to believe. Is this place haunted, or is it all an elaborate mind game made by a man trying to stay out of prison? So I liked his journey on trying to figure it all out, though I do wish his character had more of a background to kind of explain to the audience what he did before all this stuff happened, as that wasn't evidently clear. Now, there's bits and pieces to kind of allude to or hint at what he did, but it wasn't enough. I also liked how the film overall looked like from a cinematography and editing standpoint. You can tell that it was probably cheaper than a blockbuster, of course, but I would actually argue that it was much more professionally approached than your typical indie, which was a splendid surprise for me, who has never even heard of 1091 Pictures before. Now, like I said though, even though I did enjoy this guy's presentation, the way he's written serves as a bit of an issue because he's all over the place, and you're gonna have a little bit of a hard time deciding what he believes. At the start of the film, his character is introduced with the idea that he is a strong skeptic. He laughs off the idea of the paranormal and is convinced that his friend murdered his family. Though later he's like, well, I mean, what if I'm wrong? And that's what made him ultimately decide to monitor the flat to try to catch the specter. But instead of a gradual shift in character from skeptic to believer, which is what any normal movie would do, he goes back and forth, flip-flopping more than a politician, because he'll catch something weird, and then he'll say, "That's not possible, it's just the wind. It's just this, it's just that." But then you also know that he blockaded the window in full sci-fi manner where these big blast doors will shut to keep the ghost in or out or whatever, and nobody in their right mind would spend however much it has to cost in order to set up blast doors to catch a ghost, unless you believe in ghosts, 250%. There's some major inconsistencies with his character, and that's going to be a little bit problematic for some folks. Also, I have not spoken so much about the family that moves into the flat next to him that he's monitoring, and that's just because there's not much to talk about there. They needed to be there, I feel like, to fill in time. And to do that, they added family drama between a lesbian couple and their two daughters, which also serves as a target for bad things to happen because we have an evil ghost or whatever. But do you really care about the people? Do you really care about this family? I don't really think you do. I mean, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them in particular. They just seem to be placeholders in order for a story to finish being told. Basically, catalysts for plot progression, which isn't the greatest idea for any movie to do. So I enjoy the movie overall, more so than I thought I would. I was engaged with it, and overall I had a good time, but it's obviously not the best thing since sliced bread, right? It has issues, but if you're a fan of horror in general, I think that you might have a good time with it. Let's go ahead and look at my final score. From a technical, unbiased perspective, like I said, it's not a perfect film. It has a lot of by-the-book, safe decisions overall, though it does have a few things in there that I love to see too, in terms of cinematography, in terms of editing, and even some visuals when it came down to some gore. Not a lot, mind you, but enough. Most of it looked pretty average though. So this score is 64%. When it comes down to how I personally felt about the movie overall, or my bias score, I did enjoy it quite a bit for whatever reason. I was pulled in, I wanted to know what would happen next, but I do realize that it's imperfect, and some characters just weren't thought through. This score is 76%, meaning that when we combine the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 70%, 70 out of 100 possible stars, or a B- letter grade on my letter grading scale. Now, have you guys seen Lair? If so, I want you to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come up with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need